Oh my gosh.
Good God.
So you need somebody there half an
One of
hour
the benefits
beforehand.
to meeting at this location is all the money we're saving, but we lost the technical team at the library. And you're looking at him right now. My
Yeah.
name's David Sager. I'm your president. There you go.
Works cheap.
All right. Well, let's do the four-way test. Let's all stand for this. The four-way test. Isn't the truth? Isn't there? Will it build it with all his turn. We do not have music today. Are you doing it? Well, I don't know why we don't have music.
Always have music. Always have music. How about my country tis of thee, right?
The Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
Thank you. You may be seated. Harrison, do you have? You want to do the Sergeant at Arms?
This mic will. If I can get one piece of paper. Brandon Carter from the Springdale. Good seeing you, Brandon. Probably heard of Wade Caldwell. Wade often off a squirrel hunt. He's got to tell me about it at some point. I don't think working ever. And then Rolf Wilkin, where is he at? I know he might come up again today. That's why. Members with guests. Jay.
And I'm very pleased to share Rotary today with Jack Travis. He's a reporter at KUAF, working with Kyle Collins on Ozarks at Large and that's more all the game, getting them through. And he is interested in the nightclub and wanted to get into doing more service projects. Very well.
I'd like to introduce my guest, Dr. Steve Wood. He's a local Fayetteville boy. He's a skilled, retired general surgeon, and we've been friends for 50 years.
Steve Williams.
I'm proud to have as my guest Anna Humgay, Assistant City Attorney for Fayetteville, and she's done a great job in the office. We're here.
And my guest today is Stacy Barnes, the paralegal for the Fayetteville City Attorney's Office.
I don't know what this means. I'm gonna start putting these in the newsletter so you can hear them twice. As you know, I get these from the Fresno County Farm Bureau, Ryan Jacobson.
Speak distinctly now, Harrison.
I get these from Ryan Jacobson, that's the Fresno County Farm Bureau, #1 agriculture county in the United States. And these jokes are terrible. I think most of you know that. There's not a good one in here. Here's the question. Can February, March? We got somebody sick. No, but what month is the best for coffee? February. Oh. By the way, nightclub just got mentioned. The next one's at Fossil Cove on Tuesday, February 17th, 6 to 7. month, there's no month, the rural areas, the truth is the first part of the test, but what month is the best month to tell a lie? That was pretty good. You know, it's either wrong February, Joe. February, February, February. And then, I made a mistake and texted me they was gonna be here today, so I went to Chat GPT, gave it a few prompts. And this is what I ended up with. Rolf Wilkin, Ren's wife, Eureka Pies, Hot Drinks, Fayetteville Chocolates. You were, it went dark at first, and I said, I'm not gonna do that too. Please join me in your tradition as I pray in mine. The gift of Rotary is evident in this room. Friends all about us with special gifts to share. We ask that each and every one of us, as we move about our daily lives, always keep in mind the special talents we have. Let us be fair and kind to those in our paths today. Let us focus on the objects of Rotary and implement these things together. Amen.
Thank you, Harrison. All right, just a reminder that the February Buck Cups are going to the benefit of the Ronald McDonald House. It's been a year and a half since we've made them our monthly Buck Cup recipient. Right, and today is the day to donate your caps, gloves, and scarves for the Fayetteville High School students. I don't know why this is slid up. Oh, I know what. I was standing on there and I bumped that projector and now it's off center. That's my fault.
The youngest one here.
I love the chair that you got. Take a long reminder, April 18th and 19th, if you don't have it in your calendar, get that on your calendar. It's gonna be a really good time. Do we have any, who's organizing that, or who has something new to say about it right in the last week? What's happened with football in the last week?
So I think most of you know this, but for those of you who don't, we've moved it to the Fayetteville Athletic Club. So we're really excited about moving it from Spring Hill to Fayetteville, since we were the Rotary Club of Fayetteville, and that would be April, as you said, 18th and 19th, and be contacting everybody for sponsorships here soon. Thanks.
Okay. Rotary Foundation monthly giving for just $10 a month. I'll stop doing this every week, but I wanted to remind you a few times that you can do this automatically, $10 a month, and be, Harrison, when are we gonna start drawing and allowing to do the $1,000 gift?
It's in April. We're supposed to do it every quarter.
Okay.
At the end of the quarter, it's not coming for the 3 at the end of this quarter. Those who do online recurring payment, $10 a month minimum, you'll be in that drawing. If you selected in the club, you select the local nonprofit, don't pay $1,000.
All right, everyone hear that? Okay. No, Wade, you do not keep the $1,000. This is so exciting, and I'm so excited to remind you of this. $2,000 scholarships in the name of Lewis Epley and Roy Ron, to some deserving kids. I'm glad we're back in this scholarship. Yes, Chad.
We're gonna have a very quick meeting of the scholarship committee right after this meeting, just to review one of the applications and talk about how we can get the word out about these applications.
Thank you, Chad. All right. Well, I can do the introduction, or you can do the introduction.
I knew it because
You got some
Or not.
I took some shade last week because I let Harrison in the introduction, and you know, I was on fentanyl last week, so I had surgery. No, he didn't give you any shade. So, do you know what, who our club president was 20 years ago this year? John Breed, that's right. Guess who had to follow him as club president? It was hard, and but if you remember John's term, I don't know how many of you guys were here. A lot. And thank you. He was great. You were a great president. It was mayhem the whole time, but I don't think it was his fault because just like 3 years before Chuck Culver was president, and I think that kind of set the precedent. And so then we recovered, and then I had a pretty calm year, but then it was Howard Brill. So, we thank our attorneys for being great club presidents. Let's see, what do these notes say? Past president of Rotary, Washington County Bar Association, past president, prosecuting attorney's office, Arkansas Association of Civil Defense Attorneys, Arkansas Judge of the Year. He's a deacon, sings in his church choir, teaches Sunday school at First Baptist. Anything else anybody want to throw out? I think we all
Sponsored me to membership at this time. Yeah, he did.
So I keep forgetting it.
Oh, good. Join me in welcoming our speaker, John 3.
When Laura asked me sometime back, and I couldn't remember what she said to speak about, and I don't know if this is the one or if it matters. And I could have asked her, and I just didn't. But then I saw on Facebook that I was speaking about the last 36 years. So I decided I would go with that. And one of the things is that my biggest fear now, after actually be 37 years, if I count the year I was the law clerk at the public defender's office, is I have accumulated a lot of stuff in 36 years that has never left the courthouse. And my biggest concern is how am I going to get all that past my wife? Because I'm sure she's going to ask questions when she sees a moving truck pull into the driveway, and she may just say, well, are you finally moving out, or whatever my issue may be. Some of you know my wife, Joan, and you guys think that she's very nice. Think, whatever, but she's got a mean streak. I've got like 30 something Christmas ties. She's bought me several of them that she thinks are acceptable in public. That don't have lights and play music and that sort of thing. And what she does is she hides the ones that she doesn't like, that she hates the most. She'll hide them. But if I can think of them, come Christmas time, and I think, hey, where is she'll go where she's got them hidden and bring it back out and let me have it. But this past Christmas, I said, where is my dancing penguin Christmas tie? Because when you think of Christmas, it's penguins. That's the way I grew up. She left. About 20 minutes later, she came back and said, I can't find where I hid your ties. Which I don't know if that's true or not. But they're just gone. According to her, they're gone forever. The other day, just a few weeks ago, I was doing something in public and she was saying, stop doing that. That's embarrassing, or whatever I was saying. I mean, I hear it a lot. Stop that. That's embarrassing. And she oftentimes uses the line, people will think you're drunk. That's how bad she sees what I'm doing. And I told her, I live by a code, and that code is dance like no one's watching. And she said, that's the only way you should dance. We got married. After we got married, and we'd go somewhere, a wedding or whatever, and there was dancing involved, she would always tell people, he did not dance like this while we were dating. We would have never been married if I saw him dance. I took my daughter to a father-daughter dance that Northside Rotary used to do at the Boys and Girls Club. And when we were leaving, my daughter Anna said, I'll go again next year, but you're not allowed to dance. So we go to the father-daughter dance, but you just have to stand there. I'm going to go through absolutely nothing.
Wait. We'll get through it. Dance for a minute. We'll get you there.
What?
You need to keep talking. You told me to take a picture of you while you were talking.
But you don't even have my phone. How's this going to be?
All right.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, that's all
We
right.
really do need the technical team back.
We actually, up until a few minutes ago, weren't expecting my PowerPoint to come up at all. Well, and it still hadn't actually, now that I think about it. Well, so what I'll do is continue without it. One of the things that I enjoy the most is going to different schools and talking. And some of you have heard some of these before. I went to the archives to pull out some that hopefully not all of you have heard me say before. I speak to Fayetteville's teen leadership. I'm speaking to the adult leadership so when I get back to the office this afternoon. I speak to all the sixth classes at Southwest Junior High, where my wife teaches, J.O. Kelly Middle School, where my daughter teaches. And I love Jones Elementary and J.O. Kelly because their teachers, as a writing assignment, makes them write me thank you cards for coming to speak. And they're supposed to be thank you cards, but they usually wind up sounding more like mean-spirited critiques about me personally. And because I went to the archives, hopefully you guys won't have all heard all of these. One of them, and you can tell I have a real big impact on kids when I speak to them. One of them wrote, "Dear Judge 3, thank you so much for coming and explaining about the law. It was good hearing about lawyers and judges and what they do. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor." There's a theme I'm not well liked. And where people get that, I don't know. But 3 separate kids. Have you ever had to run for your life because someone wanted you dead? What kind of thank you is that? Another, have you ever been shot or stabbed while on a case? And another, have you ever gotten hit or attacked before? One said, "You're really funny for a judge." And I don't know if Judge Smith had spoken to that group earlier. Hey,
Got slides again.
slides. Another one asked, "How was it like in the World War II?" This is a picture. That one's Jones Elementary. That one's with my daughter at J.O. Kelly Middle School in Springdale. And then one said, "I hope you become more successful than you are right now." I'll talk a little about my jobs. Just this morning, I was thinking about the fact that I've never, that I can recall, ever talked about my jobs themselves, about doing the job. I've talked a lot about cases. I show a lot of crime scene photos and stuff to kids when I talk to them about alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and being a bully. And I did one time about an hour and a half on just one case to a group. But I've never really talked about my job specifically or in general terms about my job. So I'm going to talk about that just for a little while. And then if I've got time, I've got some other slides. I spoke at Springdale Rotary a year or so ago, and I modified that a little. So I'll show those if I get the time, able to do that. Trying to read my notes, and I can't tell what in the world that says. So I'll ignore that and go on to the next slide. One of the things I did was just to look it up. I started as a law clerk in the public defender's office in 1989. This being last year being 2025. I just wanted to look at the numbers of how things changed. I think in 89, we had about 113,000 people for Washington County. Now we have about 275,000 in Washington County. So population explosion is a huge change over the years, especially if you go through any of the other small towns in Arkansas and you see some of those small towns, not Northwest Arkansas, that they've never changed. They are pretty much what they were when you drove through 30 years ago. They haven't changed at all. We're unrecognizable to people who have been gone for a while. At times, we're unrecognizable to people who live here. We used to could drive around town when I started dating my wife in 89 when I was still in law school, and she could point out all these houses and say, so-and-so lived there, so-and-so lived there. I used to babysit in that house. And now when we drive around, she goes, I didn't know there was a neighborhood here. Where did this whole community come from and spring up? Some of those changes on population that I found interesting. was one is the civil cases, their change, which Judge Smith used to be the only civil judge civil. Yeah, he was the only civil one. Yeah, we all know that that's not true. That's not true at all. 98, I'm sorry, 1722. We've gone up to 5,941. So almost triple. In fact, there's twice as many. That's all right. There's twice as many civil cases as there are criminal. Probate cases, which deals with adoptions, guardianships, those have almost tripled since 98 to last year. The one that is very interesting, or I think the most interesting, is domestic relations. Domestic relations deals with basically divorce, but then you also have to deal with child support, division of assets, child custody, and all that stuff. That's actually gone down 13% since '89, which I found fascinating. They actually, part of the reason is there's fewer marriages filed in 2025 by 114. I had someone look up the marriage licenses from 98 to 2025, and there's fewer today. Now, when you've had a population that's more than doubled, that means to me what? Fewer people get married. Fewer people getting married, which is a good thing for domestic relations files. They have gone down. So I can always appreciate that. We were using the old historic courthouse when I started out. That was our main courthouse. When I started out, Judge Malin Gibson was still on the bench. He had been a prosecutor before he got elected to the bench. We were still doing that, and that was completed in 1905. And in about 1990 or so, the county bought the current building, which was, what was the old building?
First South.
The First South building. It was First South Bank. They went through bankruptcy and all that. And county really did a great deal, put a sunset clause on a tax to get it paid off early to save money on interest, got it paid off and took away the tax, which is a very strange thing in this country. Because they said, we're going to put this tax on, we're going to get the money raised, save money on interest, and get it done. And I can remember when it started, when the courthouse started, we still stayed in our old building, which doesn't even exist when I was in the public defender's office. It was on the corner of, what is that, Mountain and College. It's just a field now, but that used to be where I started in the public defender's office. But when the courthouse moved up the street to the current courthouse, our offices were still here. You were going back and forth. Then with the courthouse or the courts moved over to the new one, you were still traveling back and forth. And eventually they got everybody moved over to the new courthouse where it remains today. And some of you may remember in the old courthouse or in the current courthouse, when it first opened up, all the other businesses that were still there. There was a radio station still there. There was a haircutting place. I don't know what you call those these days. Salons. I don't know. I've been going to David Fur at the Union at the university since the 80s. So I don't know what anybody calls anything else. A dentist office, Transmontane Oil was the complete fifth floor. They had a whole bunch of different things that were in there at the time. The revenue office used to be in there. Going to an electronic filing system has really changed over the way things are done. Judge Smith was still, when he started out, it was pen and quill and flourish.
Better.
Yes, sure. My TCA or trial court assistant would go down to the circuit clerk's office, pull all the files every day in my court, unless something gets settled. I have cases set and hearings set every morning and every afternoon. And sometimes they get worked out and go away. And so then I don't have to be on the bench at that time. But she would go down to the circuit clerk's office, pull the file for each one of those cases and have a huge stack, bring them up to my office, put them on the corner of my desk in order of the hearing. And so when I'd get ready to put on my robe, take the bench, I'd grab the file that's on top go out there and then you're sitting there flipping back and forth in the file to find out what they're talking about and all that. When it went to an electronic system, everything's on the computer. We no longer have to do that. And so it's in a laptop on the bench. I can look it up and it'll have a title on each one of the filings and a date, so I can look it up that way and immediately pull it up. Plus, it's easier to read before the hearing because it's on my phone. Before, I would have to check it out. I'd say, well, I've got this hearing coming up that I really need to look at. I want to look at all of it. And then you had to check it out and bring it up because that was the original filing and you couldn't get rid of it or anything. So that has made a big difference. That and orders. When you sign orders, you no longer do that. You do it on the computer. You have electronic signature. Hit click, hit enter, and your name is signed, and that order goes away. And you'll have 10, 20 of them. Used to be, you would get a stack of files with orders on top of each one of them. You have to go through it and you sign them. And then she'd take them back downstairs and get them file marked. And now it's just all electronic. Just click. And they weren't doing that. We hadn't switched over to electronic when you were still there, were you?
Not signing order.
Well, I mean, I know we had electronics like the phone.
Yeah,
it
we
came
had-
along.
You get to
Yeah.
the current on the.
Well, you know, actually, the judge, I have followed in the judge's footsteps, and that's true. Other than I became more successful, I'm better looking, far more humble.
Got more here.
And you can't feel sorry for Judge Smith. Last few months ago, the chamber graciously gave me the West Gordon Golden Deeds Award. Judge Smith was one of like 5 people that did a video tribute to me. And when they were showing him, and his response was, Judge Threet won the Golden Deeds Award? But they run out of people? And then he said, why, Judge Threet, that guy, he just insults people. And so I appreciated those words that you gave me there. Here they were. But I still don't go 100% paperless because I will still copy off things off the computer if I'm going to have to go through it so I can highlight it and write on it and mark it and then make notes that I can't read later anyway. But I like having that paper there in my hand. One of the things that I do somewhat miss, we used to have a default divorce day where people show up. They're uncontested. They've just got to get sworn in and do all this. Well, during COVID, we started doing it all by affidavit. So people get an affidavit signed, they'd submit that, we'd review it on the computer, click, the done. We just didn't go back. We kept it that way instead of on default divorce day. Mine was like Wednesday morning. You'd have Ron Woodruff and a million other people out there in the hallway waiting with their client, come in one after another, get them sworn in, they'd talk, ask questions, and on and on and on. And then the next one would come in and stuff. The only thing I miss about that is when a Spanish speaker would come in with a translator, because I don't hablo the Espanol that well, but better than others, better than some. And so I always talked Spanish to them, and they would laugh and laugh. Luckily, I wasn't saying anything too wrong. But one day the translator stuck her head back into my office and said, I love the fact that you speak Spanish to them. And I said, oh, really? She goes, yes, because they love seeing somebody struggle in their language as they have to. And she said, plus, they just don't expect a judge to be so goofy. So I consider myself Judge Goofy. But other than me being in the public defender's office, we were both started in the prosecutor's office, or you started the prosecutor, I started the public defender, but we were both in the prosecutor's office, both got named chief deputy, both got elected prosecutor, then both got elected circuit court. And actually I'm in the exact same division that he was, that Judge Smith was in Division 2. One of the things, and I don't know if Judge Smith would think the same as far as the difference. between the two, but I always found prosecuting was far more fulfilling. I don't know if you feel that same way as being the judge. It's not like judges aren't making weighty decisions, but there is an appeals process. When you're the prosecutor, everything is your responsibility. And that starts immediately when there is a case that people are interested in. And we have a grand jury system in Arkansas. I can remember twice in Washington, Benton County. It's been used in my lifetime. So the decision being made by the prosecutor, you get all that goes with that because it's all on you. The prosecutor's office is the executive branch. Judges are judicial branch, and they don't have any power or authority over the prosecutor as far as filing is concerned. That's not their call. They don't have that power and authority, and it's separation of powers. It's one of those civic terms that you learned when you were real small. So that decision, and it's not, and being a trial judge as opposed to like an appellate judge is different because you're having to answer immediately some question that comes up and you don't know what's going to come up during the hearing or a jury trial. You don't go back with law clerks and research it and ruminate what the answer may be and then come back out. I mean, you're throwing out answers going, this may be right. Somebody once said that a judge who doesn't reflect on whether they've made the right decision or not is not much of a judge. I tell people I'm the greatest judge if there has ever been, because even after it comes out of my mouth, immediately after, it's like, I'm not sure that was right, whether to do that or not. And civil law is complex. I'll use this example, and I've used it with Professor Brill before because it is Professor Brill. He wrote a book called The Law of Damages. That's one of the books that he's written. And every attorney who knows what they're doing has that book. I was told before I became judge, you need to buy that book. Because it's a really great book, and I'd had Professor Brill for 2 or 3 classes. He's blacked it out and said, I don't even remember you being I'm not sure you were there. And I was having a hearing. There was 3 issues. One of them, I knew the answer, and I knew I was right after knowing the facts, researching, and all that stuff. Second one, I was pretty confident with. Third one, I wasn't really clear at all. But on the first one, I made my ruling. On the second one, both of them cited the exact same section in Professor Brill's book, the exact same section. And both the attorneys argued it meant something different than the other one did. And I told people that's why that civil law can be complex. That or Professor Brill just doesn't write very clearly. And the appellate level, the attorneys and the judges on the appellate level may have a different opinion of whatever is going to happen or come out or what it should be. One of the things I'll wrap up just talking about, one of the things about being a prosecutor, especially with homicides, those will wear you plumb smooth. When I probably handled or tried or dealt with probably around 50 homicides. And usually for me, it would start with what I call the call. I got the call. And I would go out even before I became the elected prosecutor as the chief deputy. My boss didn't care to go out. So I went out on all the homicide calls. And that could be any time. I missed my daughter's birthday. It was getting ready to start and I got the call. So I was gone for hours, and you're almost always going to be gone for hours. One time I was at church, my wife was home ill. I got the call, had to get both my kids picked up from their Sunday school class and then dropped them off at home to go out to see a girl that was 2 months away from graduating the U of A, who had been severely beaten, stabbed. It was a horrible, horrible scene, but I went from one part of my life to another, which was a horrible thing. Then after the scene, I would go, most of my homicides, I went to the funeral. I never talked to anybody, never said anything to anybody, never introduced myself. I'd sit in the back. As soon as it was over, I would leave. Just to get a feel for it. And after the homicide, I would, for several of them, go down to Little Rock for the autopsy. And there's in the medical examiner's office in Little Rock, you have one place for all 75 counties. There's 4 tables about 6 feet in between each one of them. And it's not like you see in some movies or TV when you're up on a gallery and you're right there at the table. with them, so you can ask questions about the homicide and the wound track and all of those sorts of things that you're doing. And then for about the next year, you get to know the family. Because you're meeting with them, you're giving them updates, you're getting pictures from them to show in the sentencing phase of their child that grew up. And I always said that they would get a special attachment, the parents, to their prosecutor, because we're actually the last thing that keeps them alive. Because once that trial is done, it's complete. It's over. So they get real close to you. And because they know when it's over, it's over. And some of them, like a mother of a homicide victim in Las Vegas, she would send me every Christmas. She worked for Mars Company out there, M&M specifically, and she would send me something every Christmas from the M&M's company. I still have the M&M's clock she sent me in my office. Another lady whose son was a graduate student up at the university was murdered, and about 20 years later, police got a break. I was able to prosecute two brothers who had murdered her son. And she knew I was, my wife's about to have our daughter. And after that case was over, she sent me a real nice pen and pencil set and a baby blanket with my daughter's name. One lady would bring by every Christmas cookies and stuff she would make. And one time she brought by a lamp she bought, some estate sale, but it had a gavel and the scales of justice on it. That's sitting up in my office too. They get real attached to you when you're up there. So I'm going to stop there because it's already 1 o'clock. So.
Well, my apologies for starting late, but blame that on me for not being here early to set up the tech stuff. Thank you, Judge Three. And if you'll walk back up here by me again, I would like to present to you. Do you have one of these?
I don't have one with the brown.
You don't have one with the brown?
Yeah.
Well, then I am proud to present to you teaching Razorback on a brown rotary wheel. Thank you so much. I hope you'll display it proudly in your home office.
And I've got several of the old ones, different models, because when I was president, we had that big box and there were broken ones in there and nobody was going to fix them and give them to somebody here and it'd fall off again. So I took a couple of those home and I glued them. And I've got some of the old models.
I was planning to do the same thing. I didn't know I wasn't the first. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I apologize. I did not ring the bell to start the meeting, but I'll ring the bell to adjourn. We are adjourned.
It is good stuff. Oh, thank you, Roger. Yeah.